welcome to Stingray Tom's Florida and another deeper dive into the archive. Today I'm talking Florida and icebergs, a combo rarely ever discussed. It's the iceberg chart idea that's been around the last couple of years. Iceberg charts start above the surface with subjects almost everyone knows and gets more obscure as you follow the iceberg into the depths. I've put one together on Florida's attractions. These are many of the best attractions in the state, looking at places that are internationally famous, then well known in the U.S., beloved by Floridians, regional favorites, and finally those mostly known by people living nearby or to the intrepid explorer. If your favorite didn't make the list, no worries. Tell us about it in the comments. You could think of this as a quiz. See how many you know, or better yet, how many you've visited. Each of the attractions are open as of 2024, and I've not put any water parks on the list as they mostly have the same wave pools, lazy rivers, and slides. Likewise, I've only listed state parks that offer something really special beyond beaches, springs, and hiking trails. So on to the chart.
Magic Kingdom. Opened in 1971 and built to be Disneyland East, I think it's safe to say that it's the most internationally famous location in Florida. While the state was already a major destination for Americans and international travelers beforehand, the first few years after it opened rocketed the tourism industry to new heights the way that the Saturn V launched Neil, Buzz, and Michael into space and to the moon. The park's opening marked the end of Florida's golden age of tourism and launched the modern theme park era we are in today. Beaches. These are the oldest, most extensive, and most popular attraction in the state. With a coastline of 1,350 miles, Florida has 825 miles of sun-baked beaches on 2 coasts and more than 4,500 islands. While many beaches seem to always be busy, there are many quiet and secluded ones that are also beautiful. That there are quiet Florida beaches is surprising considering that annually there's 800 million daily beach visits. That's nearly 10 times the number of visitors to the state's 9 theme parks combined. The Everglades. Known as a unique environment, the Everglades is actually the world's widest river at 60 miles wide. With an average depth of only 1 foot, water flows from Lake Okeechobee to Florida Bay at half a mile a day, meaning some water could take over a year to reach the ocean. Everglades National Park was created in 1934 and listed as a World Heritage Site in 1979. The area features 9 distinct habitats that range from sea level to 8 feet high and averages over 1 million visitors a year. It's also the home of the Seminole and Miccosukee tribes. SeaWorld. Opening in 1973, just 2 years after its neighbor, the Magic Kingdom, SeaWorld began as a modern oceanarium featuring large aquatic mammals such as dolphins, manatees, sea lions, and of course killer whales. In the 1990s, it would evolve into a theme park with the addition of several thrill rides. For 50 years, the park has focused on conservation and providing medical assistance to wildlife with a partnership with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, including the rescue and rehabilitation of nearly 900 manatees since 1979. Miami. One of the country's youngest major cities, it was founded in 1896, but would only start to grow in the 1920s. Today, it's the hub of the 9th largest metro area in the U.S. and the largest in Florida. It's rightfully a world-famous city with beautiful beaches, unique attractions, and a culturally diverse community that includes Latin Caribbean, Southern Black, Indigenous, LGBT+, and Haitian groups. Wedged between the Atlantic and the Everglades, the Miami area is second only to Orlando's theme parks in annual visitors, which come to enjoy the sun, vibrant nightlife, tropical scenery, and the classic Cuban sandwich. Walt Disney World. Many people think that Disney World is the Magic Kingdom and vice versa, but while the world's most popular theme park grabs the mouse's share of attention, it's the massive resort surrounding it that's able to handle the masses. Encompassing 43 square miles, about half of which is developed, the world's largest resort has 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 4 golf courses, and over 30,000 rooms in 20 hotels. It's the center of Orlando's unparalleled vacation area. Kennedy Space Center. As Disney World is the center of the state's tourism industry, KSC is the focal point of America's exploration of space. Today, the launch facility is as busy as it was in the 60s when the goal was to reach the moon. It's also the most popular non-theme park attraction in the state, which is remarkable considering that it's all about science. But space exploration remains popular, and KSC is where you can watch dozens of launches every year, as well as meet actual astronauts. Universal Resort. Like Disney World, Universal contains theme parks, hotels, and lots of entertainment, though it's located on only 540 acres, though that's soon to change. Originally opening in 1990, Universal Studios and 1999's Islands of Adventure are the theme parks that sit next to each other. Joining them in 2017 is the water park Volcano Bay, while yet another theme park is being built on property a couple miles south. It'll be named Epic Universe, and once open in 2025, it'll mean that Orlando will have 8 of the world's most popular theme parks. Epcot. Originally known as Epcot Center, it's Disney's second oldest Florida theme park, and is based on a World's Fair theme, with pavilions representing 11 nations, as well as various aspects of technology. It opened 11 years after the Magic Kingdom and is right behind it in popularity. While it's consistently had high levels of attendance, the park is so large that it's never reached capacity. That's estimated to be over 110,000 people. Epcot puts a Disney spin on learning about new technology and world cultures and is a very popular destination with foreign tourists. Alligators. Yes, alligators are a world-famous Florida attraction. Considering that there's about 1.5 million of them living in the state, and it's likely the only animal that every Florida zoo and aquarium has on display, that shouldn't come as a surprise. There's even a number of gator parks that specialize in the reptile and its cousins. Most visitors consider seeing a gator as one of the must-do things on their trip, though oddly enough, many of them hope to eat one as well. Luckily, gator is tasty. The Keys. A curving string of islands that run for 200 miles. The Florida Keys number 1,700, though only 30 are inhabited. They are both one of the leading sport fishing regions and home to the 3rd largest coral reef in the world. The chain is mostly connected together by U.S. Route 1, a highway that's comprised of 42 bridges, the longest being the 7-mile bridge at just under 7 miles in length. Other than Lake Okeechobee, the Keys are the most defining feature of the state, and they're constantly struggling to maintain a balance between tourism and nature conservation. Diagon Alley. Themed areas in amusement parks are often called lands, and Universal Resort has 2 themed as the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Diagon Alley is located in Universal Studios and replaced Jaws in 2014. It's a recreation of the magical shopping area in the Harry Potter universe, featuring many of the shops as well as the Leaky Cauldron restaurant and Gringotts Bank. Harry Potter is a hugely popular fictional universe, and fans who visit spend hours in Diagon Alley and its Islands of Adventure counterpart, Hogwarts. The 2 areas change the way that parks approach new areas by making them less ride-focused and much more immersive. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. To some extent, a response to Universal's runaway success, Wizarding World, Disney worked hard to turn its newly acquired Star Wars intellectual property into a land for its Hollywood Studios park. Being one of the few fictional universes that rivals Harry Potter, it's no surprise that Galaxy's Edge was highly anticipated and became the most popular land in any Disney park since it opened in 2019. It's highly immersive and encourages visitors to get lost in a spaceport in the Star Wars universe. Busch Gardens. The theme park that's the furthest from the Orlando area, it's also one of the largest zoos in the state with 2,700 animals and over 200 species. Opening in 1959 as an actual garden connected to the Tampa Anheuser-Busch Brewery, it would grow into one of the best roller coaster parks in the country. Like its sister park, SeaWorld, it's a theme park, with the theme being zoo, and while it's an hour's drive from Disney World, it attracts a worldwide audience of thrill ride enthusiasts as well as animal lovers. Also, like SeaWorld, it assists in the rescue and rehabilitation of Florida wildlife. Orlando, a world-famous city. But this isn't the city you're looking for. Deservedly renowned as the home of Disney World and Universal, it's also the center of a metro area with 2.7 million residents. Most tourists don't seem to realize the extent of Orlando. While it lacks Miami's Caribbean flair, it's home to large communities of Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Brazilians, and Vietnamese, and has a large LGBT+ population, being recognized as one of the most accepting and tolerant cities in the South. Notably, East Orlando's UCF has been ranked either first or second in the U.S. in total enrollment for the past 12 years. St. Augustine. I haven't organized the attractions within each tier, but it seems fitting that St. Augustine comes first in this one, as it's the oldest city in the continental U.S. Spanish soldiers and settlers established the town in 1565. It's been inhabited under the flags of the Spanish and British empires as well as the U.S. While it was nearly destroyed several times in military attacks, the old town retains much of its Spanish and British atmosphere. There are several historic buildings to tour, old cemeteries to investigate, and interesting museums to explore. St. Augustine rivals every other historic city and continues to be very popular. The Ringling. Located in Sarasota, the museum complex today, known simply as the Ringling, is a remarkable facility that was developed by a circus baron and then donated to the state of Florida. The John and Mabel Ringling Estate contains their 56-room Venetian Gothic mansion, the Circus Museum, the first of its kind, the Asolo Theater, an Italian theater dating from 1798 that was reconstructed in 1958, and the Ringling Museum of Art, with 21 galleries and tens of thousands of works. This is all set within 66 acres of beautiful landscaped grounds. Lion Country Safari. Opened in 1967, this zoo was the first of its kind, a drive-through safari park. Originally, they even let the lions wander freely, albeit in their own enclosure, with the only potential prey being the visitors. Today, the lions are safely, but disappointingly placed in pens, but all other animals roam freely. The park also features a more traditional zoo located at the end of the 4-mile safari drive. Bok Tower Gardens. Opened in 1929, the attraction originally known as Mountain Lake Sanctuary was different from the rest of Florida's earliest attractions. They all started as small and improvised roadside places, while Edward Bok, the wealthy author and editor, hired a nationally known architect, sculptor, metalworker, and landscape architect to create the most beautiful tower in the U.S. and its surrounding gardens. In the tower is a 60-bell carillon and the most extensive library of carillon music in the world. National Aviation Museum. Naval Air Station Pensacola was established in 1913, and it's a center of naval aviation. Sitting at the entrance to Pensacola Bay, it's the home base of the Blue Angels, the Navy's flying team. It's also the location of one of Florida's largest and most popular museums. Opening in 1974, it presents the history of aviation of the Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. There are nearly 300 aircraft displayed in its 300,000 square feet, with many of the planes and helicopters being one of a kind, and some representing the very start of military aviation. Discovery Cove. Owned by SeaWorld Parks and opened in 2000, Discovery Cove is a specialized attraction where guests have interactions with dolphins in the water as well as explore other wildlife in an unhurried and relaxed setting. The small park allows a maximum of 1,300 guests who arrive early and mostly stay all day long. As such, it's very much the antithesis of Orlando's theme parks. Visitors can float on a lazy river, snorkel in a pool of rays, travel through a large bird aviary, and enjoy aquariums filled with tropical fish. Key West. The U.S. claimed the Keys in 1822 just after it purchased Florida from Spain. Key West has had a military presence since 1823, and it was platted for a town in 1829, making it one of the oldest cities in the state. Key West has been a destination for adventurous travelers for much of its existence, at least until they built the cruise ship port in 1984. Before that, it was known as one of the country's most exotic destinations and drew creative people like Ernest Hemingway, John Audubon, Tennessee Williams, Wallace Stevens, and check out Shel Silverstein's song, The Great Conch Train Robbery. Castillo de San Marcos. The oldest masonry fort in the continental United States looks out on the Matanzas River at the north end of St. Augustine. It was designated a national monument in 1924 and is now part of the National Park Service. It's the number one attraction in the city and certainly is its most iconic site. Construction began in 1672 and took 23 years for the structure to be generally completed. It protected the inhabitants of St. Augustine, including the local free black community, from 2 British attacks and still has cannonballs embedded in its ramparts. Medieval Times. The original dinner adventure show, which opened in 1983, is located in Kissimmee, not too far from Disney World. Featuring an exciting jousting tournament, the attraction has hosted over 1 million guests in its 40 years of operation. Along with jousting, sword fighting, and other nightly activities, the attraction features a medieval-style meal, which is famously expected to be eaten with the hands. There's also a torture museum and a hall of arms. One of the most exciting parts of the show are the highly trained horses and falcons. Legoland. Florida's newest theme park is also one of its oldest attractions. Located in Winter Haven, it's the site of Cypress Gardens. The water ski and gardens attraction opened in 1936, but today it's been partly transformed as a Lego-themed park, complete with kids' rides, Lego character meet and greets, and shows. It still has the original Cypress Gardens that stretch along the shore of Lake Eloise, and while it's Lego-themed, it continues to have a water ski show. Sun and Fun. Unless you're a fan of airplanes or live in Lakeland, you may not realize that the second largest air show in the U.S. is held at Lakeland Linder Airport every spring. While it may not be famous with most Floridians, tens of thousands of aviation buffs from around the country attend what is the largest annual convention in the state. Many fly their airplanes in to add to the vast aircraft display that 200,000 annual visitors explore over the event's 5 days. There's daily aerial shows, interior tours of larger aircraft, and the latest and greatest U.S. military aircraft on display. Manatees. There's about 6,000 of these aquatic mammals living in Florida waters, along both coasts and up rivers, especially the St. Johns, where they're found 200 miles from the ocean. Tourists seek out the slow-moving manatee, some to swim near them, others to view them at the heads of springs in the winter when the constant 72 degrees water keeps them just warm enough to stay alive. Surprisingly, manatees aren't related to whales and dolphins, but to elephants, and they're the only aquatic mammal that's a herbivore. Clearwater Marine Aquarium. A smaller facility as oceanariums go, CMA is famous because of two movies that were made about its animals. Dolphin Tale 1 and 2 tell the stories of rescued bottlenose dolphins, Winter and Hope. Winter, who had her damaged tail amputated and was fitted with a unique prosthesis, became the most famous dolphin in the world after the release of the first movie in 2011, suddenly catapulting CMA into the spotlight and dramatically increased attendance. Sadly, Winter died of an infection in 2021 at the age of 16, but Hope is still doing well. Zoo Miami. Miami's original zoo at Crandon Park on Key Biscayne opened in 1948. By the 1970s, it was outgrowing the location, so the animals were transferred to a new location 20 miles south of Miami. Known today as Zoo Miami, it's the largest zoo in the southeastern U.S. with 500 species, 3,000 animals, and 750 acres, and it's divided up into several geographical areas, including the Amazon River Basin, Australia, Asia, Africa, and the nearby Everglades. Daytona Beach. The world's most famous beach has described Daytona's beach since the 1930s. It's got to be one of the oldest marketing taglines still in use in the country. Over the years, it did make the city a popular destination for families and spring breakers. There have been various additions and deletions to the beachfront. Notably, you can see the pier and the 1936 bandshell and the 1937 clock tower, both part of the Oceanfront Park District in the National Register of Historic Places. They were built by the Works Progress Administration during the Great Depression. John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. This is the first state park on the Iceberg chart, but it won't be the last. John Pennekamp is on this tour because it has the highest annual attendance and is the state's top destination for scuba divers. Most of the park's 92 square miles are water, with only a small part located on Key Largo. Along with the adjacent Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, the park allows people to explore much of America's largest coral reef, as well as several shipwrecks and other fascinating underwater sites.
So that's the end of the second tier and this video. I'll have 2 more videos covering the rest of the iceberg chart coming soon. Thank you for watching another of my videos. Please hit the like button and subscribe in order to learn more about Florida tourism history. Stingray Tom's Florida, traveling through time around the Sunshine State.